2011 Dawg night, a very long night actually, Fletcher. But a good night if you're a Georgia fan, with 5 commitments spanning 3 classes and 3 states. Your thoughts immediately. John Theus, Bryce Ramsey, Derek Harvey, Derek Henry, Terry from South Carolina, and then from Appalachia, Williams. Did you get that? Did you get all of that?
Yeah, well, my immediate thoughts were, I think the John Theus commitment you might could have forecasted.
Sure.
Bryce Ramsey, obviously he and Georgia have been close here the past month or two. So those two might have been, weren't quite out of the blue. But as the night went on, and you got the call about Henry, and you started finding out about all these kids, I can't remember a night quite like this. I know that Georgia's racked up recruits in the past in bulk, but for it to span so many different classes and have so much talent, I mean, you're talking about all these guys are gonna be great players, are great players already, and I don't know who got the most work at Dawg Night. Some of those kids, or maybe my cell phone, because the night was just, it's something that I've never experienced.
Well, I guess we'll get to that in a second. My view on John Theus is this. I think John has the potential to play in the NFL. I think that, to me, seems pretty evident and obvious. I think Bryce Ramsey has the potential to play in the NFL, in my view at least. So you have 2 guys like that. I think those guys are likely both 5-star guys. So I mean, I guess John is now. Bryce seems to me, and I don't deal with that stuff, but I guess I would take exception to Bryce Ramsey not being a 5-star guy, not because he's committed to Georgia, but because I've seen him throw a football. And it's not that hard to figure out after a while. Get another running back in Henry from Yulee, and obviously he and Bryce Ramsey are very close.
Very close, and I'll tell you what, Henry was, I think, physically the most impressive player there, at least on the offensive side of the ball.
But here's the drawback for him, or at least the question mark. He's tall, man. I mean, you don't get a lot of tall running backs.
Right, and we saw him play, this past spring. He does kind of run kind of straight up a little bit, and you kind of wonder, and he does so much at his high school as far as playing linebacker, quarterback, tight end, receiver, running back. So you kind of wonder, is this kid going to maybe continue to grow? Does he grow out of the running back position? I mean, can he play wide receiver or tight end? But it doesn't really matter to me. You get the kid in and, make him work. But he's just so physically impressive. I thought that Derek Henry on the offensive side of the ball last night physically was the most impressive on the eye test scale. Here's
the thing. We're going to focus on these commits, but Tyshawn Dye was here. Jordan Jenkins was here. Elder was here. Quavon Hicks was here. I mean, it was a pretty good list. I didn't think that they would have a chance to sort of rival what they had last year in terms of top level skill. But they did pretty well. And not only that, but Trey Matthews was here. And someone who I think people will start hearing about, Chester Brown.
Yes.
Was here. How great he is, I don't know. Jay Ellison from Harris County, who is Jordan Jenkins' teammate. I think he will eventually get some attention. But to me tonight, or I guess really last night, because we didn't finish really until like 1-ish, 2?
Yeah.
Something like that. Now to me, I know John was the guy who walked up to Mark and said, we all want to come to Georgia. And I think John should be given credit for that. But I do want to point out that, in my view, without Bryce Ramsey, you wouldn't have got the other 2.
You wouldn't have got the 2013 kids, the wide receiver Terry and Henry. Henry and Bryce are
close. I think Terry and Bryce are closer than people understand.
Right. Yeah. Those 3 together, and that's the thing, Dean. When you get a quarterback that commits early,
Tell me a little bit about Bryce's personality.
Well, Bryce he's one of those guys that, he seems laid back and everything, but he's just a cool guy.
Why do people like him in your mind?
Because personally, I think they see his talent, and I think kids gravitate to that. They want to hang out with winners and kids that are good athletes, or kids that do things the right way. And Bryce this whole summer has gone to camps, gone and thrown in college, has done everything, and he's always the guy there. And I think kids gravitate to that.
Not to rain on Bryce's parade, but I've seen him throw. He really can throw. Last night was not his greatest night ever, but he was to me, clearly the best guy there. There were 2 other guys that looked good. Jonathan McCrary has an offer from Georgia.
Right.
But my issue with Jonathan is he is slender, man. I'm concerned about that.
He is. And the other quarterback, Cole Seagraves.
Yeah, he did well for himself. He may or may not. He may be a... To me, I don't know if he's Georgia necessarily, but he did well last night, Cole.
Yeah, and Georgia's going to take 2 quarterbacks in this class, right? So I thought Seagraves looked good. Now, he doesn't have the pop that Bryce has, but he made some throws last night. He made some good throws. There's no shame in not having an arm like Bryce Ramsey. You know, Seagraves made throws last night.
He was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
When you run a 4.28 and you're a running back, people say, "Oh man, it's so fast." I guess the only pause you have, having not seen him play in past, I've seen Appalachia play of late, but I have not seen him because this young man is going into 10th grade, he's with 9th grade. He seems relatively physically developed. Are you getting nitpicky? If a guy can run a 4.28, that's what Florida has done in the past. Get burners on the outside. Another thing, let me just say this as an aside real fast. Actually, we'll finish up with the kid from Appalachia. You get burners in there, they can change the game. I mean, Isaiah, I think, is a more traditional running back who is a burner. But what do you get from a guy who's a 4.28? Even, at running back, he might not be huge, but I mean, he's not small,
right?
That kid.
Well, I like to say, it wasn't like he ran this great 40 and everybody was amazed and he got an offer on the spot. Georgia's been talking about offering him for a while now.
Right.
And so I think, when they got him at the camp, and Chad talked about, that he showed a lot of good balance through the drills. So I think he might be able to be more than just a burner. And he's got, 3-4 years to grow? I mean, he's not going to be 5'8" forever, I don't think.
Well, I'll say this. If you see the pictures even, physically, he does not necessarily look like a 9th grader, that's for sure.
No.
I went to high school with Patrick Pass. I remember, and a lot of people run Patrick down. Patrick played in the NFL. He's won Super Bowls. Yeah. Patrick was a lot more developed than guys when we were in 9th grade. He was in 9th grade, I was in 10th grade. I remember that quite clearly. Let me say this, though. Let's talk about the dynamic with Florida and Georgia here. Mm-hmm. And Florida is never going to lack for talent. Florida's never going to have. There's a lot of great things about going to school at Florida. There's no question about that. They got beat up a little bit tonight. I mean, I think so. I think Bryce, it would have been for Bryce. That's one thing. Henry, I think they thought they had a very good shot there. Maybe I don't know if they thought they had him. I don't have that much expertise with Florida, but I do know that, John and Henry. Was it you who said Georgia last night got the top player in 2013 in Georgia, the top player in Florida, and the top player in South Carolina in 2013? Now, it remains to be seen if that's actually a factual statement as it relates for what we say, but it was a pretty good jab to the Cox and to the Gators.
Well, look who finished second for all those kids. I think Florida gave Bryce something to think about.
I think Florida was his number 2 school.
Yeah, Florida was really the only other school that I think really could have gotten Bryce. Florida was probably number 2 for Theus, and Florida was number 2 for Henry. So, Georgia went head to head with the Gators there and pulled kids out of Florida's region. So.
And another thing too is I think to some degree, not to rail on or spend too much time on Florida, I think the coaching change there had something to do with it, because for when you switch everybody out, Bryce Ramsey, from what I understand, there was no interest playing for Urban Meyer.
No.
So these guys at Florida, they had to start over completely with him, and the fact that I think they did pretty well recruiting him, just because there was zero interest there, and now they did.
And with Theus, really, I think the only thing that created a hitch was Cyril's leaving.
Yeah.
But Friend came right in, and he never missed a beat with their recruiting there. I think that Coach Friend's personality he's similar to Bobo. I tell people this a lot. They just
They're
know,
like twins. What are you talking about?
I know. They just know how to recruit certain type of kids, and they fit right in with Theus and the Theus family. And Coach Friend has never missed a beat from once Cyril's left. As far as with Theus, the thing about it is, though, with Keith Marshall, if they can get him to come in next year, that would be
scary.
That would be scary with Isaiah and Keith together. Just lining it up like this, though. It's been a while since I've seen something quite like this.
Don't you have to give Brian McClendon? People are going to say, well, why are you blowing up Brian McClendon? Why are you giving him such praise? I don't even know really Brian very well, but I just think the track record is starting to speak for itself as it relates to him recruiting kids.
Well, you mentioned in an article you wrote, I mean, Brian played here. He knows the experience.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you look at it, I mean, look at what he's lined up. I mean, he's got the number one running back possibly in the nation in 2010 in Isaiah. Keith Marshall.
I mean, 2011, Isaiah was the number one running back.
Excuse me. 2012, Keith Marshall. McClendon is right there.
Yeah.
They're saying that Henry is the number one running back in Florida. And then 2014, they've already got a guy. So McClendon has shown that, obviously his worth in recruiting. Now it's time for him to
prove it on the field.
But when you've got certain talents, sometimes it takes care of itself.
Talent tends to help coaching. They look a lot smarter with a lot of skill. But that's another. But the truth of the matter is, Dawg Night is about accruing talent over a particular period of time. They got 5 last night. In 20 this time last year, they had 12 guys who signed with the alleged Dream Team that night. They were all at Dawg Night last time, and I just think in the end, if you're Georgia, I think some of this had to be quasi-unexpected. Some of it was not unexpected, and it was a good night in the end. I mean, obviously, it was a good night in the end.
It was, and there was still a lot on the table too. I think this 2013 class can be right there with the 2011 class.
Yes, I agree. I think it could rival 2007, 2011, 2013 in Georgia. 2007 Georgia was a non-factor pretty much in the top 10. In 2013, starting to look like they can push some people around.
Right. And and I'm not talking about Georgia's commitments, but I'm talking about in the state of Georgia as the class. And you're looking at Ruben was there last night. You got Robert down the road, 45 minutes. I mean that class, when you have that much talent that you could arguably say is the number one player, I mean, that class is looking great.
Well, how you win national championships is stringing together multiple recruiting classes of high level guys.
Exactly.
You can coach up them 3 stars all you want, but unless you have some serious skill back there, it's going to be. You saw what happened to Florida when all those 5-star guys left.
Right. And 2012 may not be as talented in state.
No, it's not, and they're going to have to figure that out.
Well, and what they've done is they've gone to Florida and got the best player in Florida. They're right there for the best player in North Carolina.
That's 2013. Oh, no, excuse me. Go ahead.
And they got potentially the best player in the state in Jonathan Taylor, who I thought last night, he was 312 pounds yesterday.
Jonathan Taylor looked good. I mean, that kind of...
And you're just talking about his haircut, right?
Well, both. I mean, dude was very big, large and in charge. And but as good a night as it was, these nights are always pretty much good nights for programs. But I do have to say, having been around this game for about 11 years now, I can't remember a night where Georgia has executed the game plan better than they did. There's got to be some credit given for that. It's easy to beat up this coaching staff, Richard Samuel, getting Caleb to the finishing line and not getting him over, having a losing season. But if you're going to do that, you got to say, you know what, really good job figuring some things out, getting guys to pull the trigger. And guys don't just do it over a 2-week period. They do it over a 2-year period. And a lot of this stuff was years in the making. And a lot of it was, I have to say, you've got to concentrate on recruiting. You've got to concentrate on recruiting. You cannot develop me into an NFL quarterback. It will not happen.
No, it's the number one thing in your program. And we've been seeing...
It's the number one thing you can control, too. Well, to some degree, I guess you could say.
Well, I think you're seeing this. There is a more, cognitive effort. They're already getting 2013, 2014. I mean, they're out there, and they're working harder, I think, than they did. And that 2010 class was a little bit...
Agree completely.
It was that 2010 class was a wake-up call. You saw the results. Georgia was able to close at 2011.
Yeah.
Now they're getting to where they're opening.
They got to close it too, though.
Yeah.
There are still people to be had 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
But getting Bryce Ramsey in wrapping here, that helps a lot. I mean, John, I think, it would be hard for John to go somewhere other than Georgia. Bryce Ramsey is he could go anywhere, I think. And getting him to stick around, he's closer to South Carolina, Florida State, and Florida than he is to Georgia, and Georgia Tech, I guess. Getting him to stick in Georgia to make it seem like Camden County is definitely Georgia, to make it seem like if you lived in Jacksonville, you would have thought it had been Jacksonville, Georgia last night. So Big night for Georgia. Dog Night 2011 will certainly go down as one of the better, if not the best, recruiting nights in recent Georgia history.